Kuro is being chased by members of the Red Imperial Army. He runs off a ledge and jumps without hesitation. The Red Army members stop at him. Kuro stands to face the members of the Red Army. He pulls up his staff, pulling it apart, revealing a hidden sword. Kuro charges and cuts through most of the Red Army with ease before one manages to clash swords with him. As both of them struggle sword against sword, however, Kuro grabs his head in pain. Kuro's protector Benkei shows up and saves Kuro from being killed by a soldier. They spot a light through the forest, which leads them to house. Benkei and Kuro enter the residence. From the hallway, a woman voice is heard. The woman named Kuromitsu, and Benkei introduces himself as Kuro and asks her if they could sleep there for the night. As Benkei is talking, Kuro stares at Kuromitsu, but his vision becomes blurry. He kneels down, grasping his head again. Kuromitsu goes over to him and confirms he has a fever. Kuromitsu agrees to let Benkei and Kuro stay in the house under the condition that they don't go in the back room no matter what. The next morning, while Kuro sleeps, Benkei tells Kuromitsu he is going to go to a nearby village for medicine and leaves Kuro in her care. On the way down the path, Benkei notices a statue surrounded by gravestones. The statue's head has been cut off and dried blood is around the neck. Farther down the path is a sea of red flowers that stretch into the forest. Back in the house, Kuromitsu tells Kuro he can stay as long as he wants, if that's what he desires. They share a kiss as a butterfly looks on. They leave into the forest, where Kuro initiates a kiss before Kuromitsu stops him, telling them that they cannot be together, going back on what she said before, even if that's what they desire. In the dead of night, the Red Army has finally reached Kuromitsu's house. Kuro awakens and proceeds down the hall where Kuromitsu's room is. Kuro approaches the room, looking inside to find a dead man, hung upside down, who Kuromitsu is drinking the blood of. Kuromitsu notices him and tells Kuro she is glad he knows before a man appears behind her and slices through her, cutting off her arm. Before Kuro can react, another man appears behind him, slicing down his back. The Red Army members shoot flaming arrows, setting Kuromitsu's house ablaze. Kuro sees Kuromitsu about to be impaled by a sword, to which he quickly grabs a sword and cuts the soldier who's holding the sword's hands off before tumbling to the ground. As flaming arrows fly and start to burn the house, the man who sliced Kuro charges him, but Kuro kills him as well. The man who cut Kuromitsu appears and stabs Kuro through the stomach, mortally wounding him. The man notices Kuro looking at something behind him and turns around to see Kuromitsu, who crushes the man's throat and takes Kuro away from the house. Watching the house burn is a man with a golden mask who states that Kuromitsu is immortal and that they have been looking for her. Behind him is Benkei, who appears to be lost in thought. Kuro and Kuromitsu escape into the forest, and Kuro tries to tell Kuromitsu to escape while she can. Instead, Kuromitsu offers Kuro the chance to accompany her to the end of time.
A man is killing peasants in a village and taking their money. He notices a light coming from a nearby bridge and sees a man and a woman whom he proceeds to cut down. He flees into the forest, and soon he finds himself outside Kuromitsu's house. The man, Okada, tells Kuromitsu he wants food and water. Kuromitsu tells him he may stay as long as he doesn't go into the back room. He eats some food from Kuromitsu before fainting. When Okada awakes, he is alone and the fire is out. He turns to the hallway and goes down it towards the back room. When he looks inside, Kuromitsu is sharpening a blade. Behind her is the head of Kuro on a stone slab, talking to her. Okada recognizes Kuro as the man he cut down on the bridge. Kuro tells Kuromitsu he has had enough of this, as she reminds him that Okada cut him down without hesitating. She tells Kuro that no one will miss him before turning to look straight at Okada. Benkei is standing on the ceiling of a platform. Many platforms stretch into the beyond. Behind him, standing on the floor of a platform, is the man with the gold mask. Benkei asks where he is, to which the man with the gold mask states it doesn't matter where he is since he doesn't know his own name. The masked man teases Benkei about not knowing his name and pushes him off the platform. Benkei imagines Kuro talking about how worthless Benkei is. Benkei struggles to recall his own name as he yells repeatedly, "My name is." Benkei is now standing in a lake, and in front of him is a platform where shadowy figures stand. They part, revealing the man with the gold mask, who refers to Benkei as their leader. Kuro and Kuromitsu drink each other's blood so Kuro can get immortality. Kuro's body is racked with pain, to which Kuromitsu states it will take about an hour to stop. While in pain, several men from the Red Army in special armor approach and cut down Kuro. They then impale Kuromitsu with a sword, pinning her against a tree. The man with the gold mask approaches and twists the sword in her, asking her for the secret to immortality. Kuro stands up, his wound steaming, and after a pulse inside his body, he goes on the offensive. Easily taking out all the men with his new power. The man in the golden mask rushes Kuromitsu after finding out it's her blood that holds the secret to immortality, but is cut down by Benkei. As the three prepare to leave, Kuromitsu notices the Red Imperial Army symbol on Benkei's hand and tries to warn Kuro, but it's too late. Benkei cuts off Kuro's head, and it falls to the floor as he questions why Benkei would betray him and if he would ever see Kuromitsu again. Kuro wakes up in the forest in more modern clothes, his sword still attached. As he walks out of the forest and heads for the cliff that overlooks the land, his eyes widen. There is a lot of water covering the land, along with rundown modern-day buildings. In the city of Asuka, the Red Imperial Army, now a military-like faction, storms the alleyway, killing people in hiding. Meanwhile, Kuro wanders through the fog-covered forest. He thinks he sees Kuromitsu before in the fog, but she disappears as the fog dissipates. Kuro keeps moving, eventually reaching the edge of the forest by morning. He approaches the edge and looks down the forest path to where the forest ends and the ruined city begins. Rai is with a client, trying to get information from him about the Red Imperial Army's manhunt. After the client leaves, she goes outside to smoke a cigarette and talk to Karuta. Rai informs him that she hasn't learned anything new and leaves to go try to find more info while Karuta goes to look for new recruits. Kuro walks around the city confused and climbs to the top of a lamppost for a better look. Karuta notices Kuro on the lamp and calls for him to come down, asks Karuta where he is. Karuta tells him he's in Asuka and notices Kuro's swords, to which he asks if Kuro is an antique collector. While talking, someone steals Kuro's sword, and he immediately decides to find it. Karuta agrees to help Kuro find his sword, which takes them to the auction. At the auction, Kuro forcefully takes his sword back, causing Karuta to have to cool the situation before it gets out of hand. Karuta gets Kuro's sword and will only give it back to him if he comes with him to get a drink. Kuro and Karuta go to Sakafune, a bar on top of a stone spire. Karuta tells Kuro of the great disaster, and while he listens, Kuro has a vision of Kuromitsu telling him of the great disaster on top of a desolated building. When she finishes, she's gunned down by a hail of bullets. Kuro awakens from his vision, screaming in the bar. A chopper flies over the city and releases a blue sack from its hull. From the sack, a behemoth rises and starts to slaughter the citizens of Asuka. As people try to run, they're stopped by members of the Red Imperial Army led by Arashiyama. The soldiers spread out through the city, gunning down citizens in the streets and busting down doors to get the ones hiding indoors. Rai calls Karuta to inform him of the Red Army's attack on the city, causing the bar to go into lockdown mode. The lights in the bar are turned off, and everyone hides in a hidden area behind a digital mural. As the Red Army enters the bar and looks around, Karuta and Kuro watch as one of the soldiers approaches the mural. Just as the soldiers turn to leave and Karuta thinks they're safe, Kuro leaves the mirror and starts killing the Red Army soldiers using his powers.
Once they're all dispatched of, Arashiyama appears and cuts down Kuro using his bare hands. After Arashiyama leaves, Kuro, near death, approaches a Red Army soldier and drinks their blood. Kuruta watches as Kuro drinks the blood. Thank you for watching till the end. I only covered 1 to 3 episode. If you interested in this anime, the anime name is Kuruzuka.